Well, good morning. Speaking of Thanksgiving, I know everyone's getting into the spirit of the holidays as we are full throttle moving towards Thanksgiving. Not all of us, though, are in that mode. In fact, a lot of our patrol officers, all of our patrol officers, are just running and gunning and working tremendously hard to keep our community safe. You know, I was having a conversation with a patrol sergeant, Danny Myers, who I'm going to introduce in just a couple of minutes. He's from our Steel Creek division, and he was talking about, you know, how disappointing it is sometimes that the patrol element of the police department gets so little credit for some of the tremendous work that they do. And this morning, we've got a pretty good illustration of just how tremendous that work can be at the patrol level. It involves what I would consider, and I think Danny would probably echo these sentiments, a major drug trafficking ring that was stopped, squelched, stopped in its tracks due in large part to the work of the community and patrol. Danny's going to talk about that work, what it netted. Tremendous amount of money and drugs and guns and 3 individuals and just a tremendous job done by our patrol officers over in the Steel Creek division. They work with and for Sergeant Danny Myers. He's with Steel Creek, and he's going to fill you in on all the blanks. Danny Myers.
Good morning. Friday, we patrol officers in the Steel Creek Division executed a search warrant based off of an ongoing investigation for the past several weeks related to community complaints. Officers had received complaints, community members who observed that something just wasn't right in the neighborhood. We stress this in all community meetings, especially our community coordinators when they go to. Basically, community members are going to see things that are out of place in their neighborhoods quicker than the patrol level or any officer is going to see. So we always stress, you hear the see something, say something. But we always stress in meetings that if there's something that looks out of place, let an officer know. And in this case, the community did that. And as a result of that, during several week ongoing investigation, patrol officers who are your everyday officers that you see on the streets who respond when you get involved in a car accident. You see them driving through your neighborhood. They pull up at the schools, talk to the kids as they're coming out, stuff like that. Just your everyday guys. Put forth just a great amount of work. Really, really good job, and we're able to execute this search warrant. In doing so, we were able to recover over $548,000 in cash, approximately 2.6 kilograms of powder cocaine, roughly 1,000 hydrocodone pills, as well as ecstasy pills, and several pounds of marijuana. 2 guns were also located inside the house, and it was believed that this was a very large ongoing drug ring within the Charlotte community. 3 arrests were made on scene, and there are warrants still outstanding for a 4th individual who was found during our investigation as well to be involved.
Can you talk about just the scope of this drug bust, how big it is compared to what you would normally see maybe?
Yeah, so on the patrol level, you don't see this kind of thing very often, to be honest. You'll make a traffic stop and get out with somebody who may have some narcotics or something like that. But for something, for the work that went in on the patrol level, this is pretty rare. The area where this was occurred at was in our unincorporated area near in the south part of the county. So really quiet neighborhood, an established neighborhood. There really isn't a lot going on down there as far as a criminal aspect. So very, like I said, not a lot goes down there. So. It was very rare.
How high up the chain were these guys? Or is there any way you could put that into context as far as the drug dealing operation goes?
I mean, it's still ongoing as far as what their actual level is, as far as our investigation goes. So to put an exact role, it'd be hard to say. But this is definitely not your basic street level, narcotics seller that you see. This is definitely towards the top level of that.
Can you elaborate on what the neighbors were saying was out of the ordinary?
Without going into too much detail about that, because that's confidential between the neighbors and the police. But they were just seeing, you live in your neighborhood, you know what you see every day. When something stands out, it's like that shiny object off to the side. It really pinpoints something to you. So there was just activity that was going on, a lot of vehicle traffic, a lot of people coming and going type of situations that just didn't seem right, seemed out of place for what that neighborhood's used to.
That's obviously a lot of drugs. Any estimate as to how much that would be worth on the street?
So just a rough estimate would be for everything that was located there, it's approximately about $100,000 worth of narcotic street value. Once it gets split up, could go for more after everything's all said and done, but that would be an estimate for that price.
You talked about the see something, say something, and how important it is for community members to speak up. How important in this case was it for police to even know that this was happening if it weren't for these neighbors?
Had it not been for the neighborhood, we would never have made this arrest. It would have taken, I can't say never, but it would have taken some sort of observation from an officer that may be pulling in there. But it would have, I would believe that if the neighborhood didn't speak up and tell us what was going on, these individuals would still be out there engaged in narcotics activity.
Did any of the suspects have any, do they have a long criminal history, and do they have any violent crimes on the record, if so?
So the individuals that were arrested are new to the North Carolina area, several of them from New York, one from Florida. One of them was on federal probation for a trafficking charge. That has been made aware to his probation officer, and I believe that his probation is being revoked at this time.
Do you believe that they were not caught when they were, that there was the potential with that many people and that level of narcotics for other crimes to happen? I mean, we know that drugs tend to bring about other crimes.
Absolutely.
Do you think that this may have stopped violent crimes in that neighborhood?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, and it branches out. At that level, for that amount of narcotic, as it gets split up into smaller amounts, it spreads everywhere. So, people get shot over small amounts, and this is a huge amount. So to say that this reduced the violent crime aspect pretty much all across the area, I think would be very true, and especially at that location. I mean, there's bound to be somebody that would know that amount of money is located there, and want to come trying to find out what's going on with it. So for certain.
Sorry, did you say a traffic stop led to this, or how did this?
No, just community complaints, and then officers investigated it, the complaints to find out the validity of it, and and just did their investigation on the patrol level.
Is it unusual to have people from like outside the Charlotte area coming here and then dealing this kind of drugs?
I mean, Charlotte's such a growing city. I mean, people are coming here from all over, rightfully so. So to say that, the only people coming in here would be doing something like this. I mean, there's just so many people that come here. This type of thing would, is bound to happen eventually as people come in here. But we're trying to stay on top of it as best we can, for certain.
Any idea where that last suspect is? Do you believe he's in the area?
At this time, the warrants have been issued, and we're trying to locate him at this time.
All right, we're going to get Sarge back to work, and just for those of you who aren't familiar with the Sarge's schedule, not that you should be. He should have been on at 5 this morning. He's been working all night. He was kind enough to stick around and just brag on some of the work that his ladies and gentlemen, his fellas and ladies are doing out there in Steel Creek. We wanted to thank you for stopping in this morning. Hopefully you get some well-deserved Sarge.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, just to piggyback a little bit of what the Sarge said with that outstanding warrant. I know the name's been released on social media. Go ahead and push that if you could. We're trying to locate a picture of that individual that we could push out, but I know his information is out on social media. Please, push that out. There's a Crime Stopper reward of up to $1,000 for any information that helps locate that individual, 704-334-1600. And just to further that a little bit, if anybody has additional information concerning that operation out there in Steel Creek that they could pass along, that would be greatly appreciated as well. So, but wait, there's more. We've got a lot more this morning. We've got an all-star cast this morning, right? Because we know with the holidays looming, there are going to be questions. One of the bigger questions obviously involves travel. Travel involving the airport. We've got Lieutenant Will Farrell here with airport. He's over the airport out there, and he's going to talk about traffic. He's going to talk about safety. He's going to talk about patience and pacing yourself and leaving yourself enough time before you go ahead and get out there, and how to protect yourself and protect your property. And I think he's even got a little other advice that he wants to give concerning guns in carry-on bags that he wants to pass along as well. Lieutenant Will Farrell.
Good morning. Traveling around Charlotte can be a challenge on a normal day, and that doesn't go away just because of the holidays. It's worth noting that Charlotte Douglas International is the 6th busiest airport in the United States, and our peak travel days, obviously, for passengers leaving and departing is going to be tomorrow, and then returning on Sunday. So those are the peak times. TSA's recommendation is to make sure you arrive 2 hours early. That's being at the airport. we would encourage you to leave even earlier to make sure you account for travel time. There are some changes going on at the airport right now. The original cell phone lot has closed to the old rental car road where people have a tendency to want to stage and wait. There's no public access to that any longer. I have a map here I can share with you when we're finished where the new cell phone lot is, but that's something we're encouraging people to use. That's 150 spaces in there. In addition, the Charlotte Airport's added over 1,700 spaces to long-term 2 this year. The latest operational update I've received this morning, as far as where to park. Let's see here. Long-term 1 was at 88% capacity. Long-term 2 was 53%. 4 was at 9%. Daily east and west were both equal at 35%. The hourly deck at 14%. So bringing up the hourly deck, that's something that we want to encourage people to use when we're dropping somebody off or picking somebody up. It's free for the first hour, and people don't realize that. So if you just want to stop, go in, grab them, come back out, that's an easy place to use. As far as travel tips and safety, I think planning ahead and trying to arrive early is one of the main ones, but also considering what you pack. The TSA encourages people, to the extent that they can, to check their baggage, every bag that they have to scan, and if it results in an anomaly that they have to physically go in and inspect, that increases the length of time it's taken to get through there. Along those lines, we're at 58 guns that have been recovered by TSA at checkpoints so far this year, just for Charlotte alone. I just saw an article, I think Atlanta was over 200, so that's their highest on record. We see it with CCW holders. They're used to carrying a gun, with them legally, and they maybe don't notice the signs that it's prohibited inside the airport. So we want to encourage them to make sure that they leave their guns at home, and they pack their own bags and all that normal stuff that we talk about.
You got to stop the airport traffic.
Right, I can see that. I've got a phone number for you guys if you want to call and if you want to put it out just to the public as far as checking on the lots and the parking situation. That's 704-359-5555. And there's also a web link I'll share with you also. Any specific questions about travel at the airport? Yes, sir.
Travel, I have a question just about police calls the day after Thanksgiving, the Friday after Thanksgiving. The 2016, the #1 place for police calls. Can you explain why that is? Is that because of big crowds or are there particular crimes happening?
Would you repeat your question, sir?
Last year, 2016, the #1 place for police calls was the airport the day after Thanksgiving. Just wondering if that's because of big crowds or are there particular crimes happening, or what reason can you give for that?
I can't give a reason for that. I can look and see at the projected number of travelers, and it is low. The lowest is Thanksgiving Day, and then the next lowest is Friday. So the travel numbers don't really reflect why that would be the case.
Okay, that's what we heard. Do you have any idea? What
I'm not going to speculate on it without knowing. I'm sorry.
We'll get you the specifics, Alex. And how many calls, did you have a breakdown of the calls?
This is from another reporter who had passed this line. I don't have it immediately, but they had told me that there was that was the #1 location last year for police calls. So
I do know with the expansion at the airport, you've seen it. There's construction going on all the time. Make sure that people are paying attention to the traffic patterns and the signage that's up there. Signs, telling people that rental car road is closed, but they can get down there and then be frustrated just because they didn't pay attention to the signs.
So it sounds like that's a surprise to you that would be the #1.
Yes, it is.
Who else? Mark?
I'm good. I was out at the airport yesterday. I think I've been here and done that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Anybody else for Lieutenant Farrell?
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
And we're going to put stuff, and we appreciate your time and how busy you are out there, especially this week. And can't thank you enough. We'll share that. I will. That's just what I was going to talk about now is if you follow us on social, and I know most, if not all of you do, we'll put some important links up on social media that'll help with travel tips, crime prevention, and the like. And Alex will go ahead and we'll get those specific numbers for you. I would suspect it's larceny from autos. I don't want to speculate, though. Just like the lieutenant, we'll get you exactly what those numbers involve. You good? Good. Ryan Butler is the captain of our North Division. They oversee North Lake Mall. And North Lake Mall, obviously, in the next couple of days is going to get extremely busy, as will the South Park Mall, right, with Black Friday just around the corner. We thought it was appropriate to get Captain Butler here this morning to talk about operations, staffing, best practices
things that people can do in the community to make their shopping experience on Black Friday a lot easier, a lot safer, a lot more convenient. Captain Ryan Butler.
Morning, everybody. Happy early Thanksgiving. So what I'm going to talk about specifically is related to the retail cluster around North Lake Mall, North Lake Commons, the Northcrest Shopping Center, which is where the Target and REI is across the street, as well as Perimeter Woods Retail, which is where our Best Buy and the Lowe's is. So you'll start to see an increase in police presence really starting on Thursday after everybody's kind of filled their bellies and watched some football. But you'll start to see an increased presence around the mall, starting off with officers in cars. You'll really notice if folks are queuing up in the morning on Black Friday. We're going to have some special assistants this year. We actually have some volunteers who are recruits at the academy from a couple of the academy classes we have going on. They're going to be coming out, and they're going to be getting partnered with officers we have from our community coordinator unit and from our crime reduction unit. They'll be working in 3 to 4 officer teams, and they're going to be going to individuals that are lined up waiting to get into stores, talking to shoppers as they're coming out with their newly acquired purchases, and sharing best practices and safety tips. Simple things. Be mindful of your surroundings as you're moving to your vehicle. Keep your stuff locked in your trunk. We actually, when we meet with our retailers at the mall for our business watch meetings, encourage them to tell their customers even to take steps such as, if you're going to go back in, do additional shopping. And I know parking can be a bear sometimes, but go ahead and move your vehicle to another part of the parking lot, and enter a part of the mall or enter the shopping center closest to the retailer that you're going to next. That way, if somebody had watched you go to your vehicle, they're under the impression that you're leaving and going somewhere else. There's going to be foot patrol at the mall. You'll see some of our recruits getting paired up with foot patrol. You will also see an increased presence of both North Lake Mall security and off-duty officers that have been hired by the mall, both inside and in the parking lots around the mall. We're going to have, and this is, again, starting on Black Friday, but going through the entire holiday shopping season, you're going to see an increase in bike patrol, dual sports, which are the police dirt bikes, out there cruising all of the parking lot areas of that retail cluster, as well as increased vehicle patrols in the area. You will see our Sky Tower getting moved around to several of those locations, as well as some of our signage boards, and that's going to be to help facilitate the traffic plan. North Lake uses a counterclockwise traffic plan, so folks coming in off of Harris, go ahead and use that first entrance closest to the hotel, and when they exit out, if they exit out on the North Lake Center Parkway side, it's going to be much easier for them to move out of the shopping center and get on to their next destination. But I really encourage folks, if they have questions, if they have concerns, if they're curious about anything, officers are out there. They're out there to talk to folks that are out there shopping and enjoying the start of the holiday season. Really, I encourage you to go ahead and take the time, stop and talk to the recruits, stop and talk to the officers, get your questions answered. I do also want to take the opportunity to note that tomorrow morning from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Near the AMC at North Lake, there will be a child seat checking station. So before folks go and hit the road to wherever their Thanksgiving destination is, if you want to bring your vehicle by, there are officers there who are certified in child seat installation, and they can make sure that your loved ones are going to be buckled up safely before you heading out to grandma's or wherever your final destination on Thursday may be. Thank you.
Is this the first time we've had recruits involved in something like that?
No, we've actually done it before. We've done it before. It really is often dependent upon the training cycle at the academy. So depending on if the class that's there overlays the holiday shopping season, we've had them come out in the past before, and it's worked well. I actually have had North Lake specifically, ask, are the recruits going to come out? They do very well as far as interacting with the shoppers. The shoppers like seeing them, and it's just more people out there. Helps increase the feeling of safety, helps get our message out about personal security, shopping safety, and just small tips that, sometimes you think, well, I've heard this before, but with the hustle and bustle of trying to get all your holiday shopping done and out of the way, sometimes we rush and we don't necessarily take into consideration some of the things that we might on a normal shopping day.
As far as mall crime goes, what kind of crimes do you typically see?
Last year, honestly, our biggest issue was larcenies inside the mall. In looking over the reports, the biggest issue we had was an employee-related theft at the mall. That's the biggest issue year-round we deal with is shoplifting at the mall and the other retail locations around that, and it doesn't change. Volume sometimes changes just because the increase in shoppers and people inside the mall, but really as far as crimes to watch out for, that's a lot of the reason why we have the additional presence inside the mall. And we, on a regular basis throughout the year, actually have a foot patrol officer who's assigned to the North Lake area who works their regular beat. I know that there are holiday staffing plans for all of our major retail clusters around the city and county. I can't speak to the specifics on those, but you will see an increased police presence at South Park, at the retail outlets down in the Steel Creek area, at the Met here right outside of Uptown. So people shouldn't be alarmed. It's just part of our response to the increased presence of shoppers at those areas.
With the attempted kidnapping at the Southern Christmas show this weekend, can you just talk about how police prepare or train for situations like kidnappings and trying to avoid situations like that?
Well, anytime we have officers are out deployed, whether it be at a retail center or at a popular event or a heavily attended event, awareness is key. So, it's not an officer trying to be aloof. It's an officer really scanning the crowd, scanning the parking lot. It's trying to look through the sea of individuals that are going about their normal business to look for aberrations in someone's behavior. Whether it's somebody approaching a car and you're looking to see, is that person going to their car? Are they looking to see if the door handle's unlocked? That's just part of the security monitoring that officers do. And coordination is key. So that's why I said we have an exceptional relationship at North Lake that we maintain throughout the year. And so it's on-duty officers, off-duty officers, their security personnel. We're in constant contact with each other.
Guys, we appreciate it. Captain, thank you very much.
Thank you, folks. Happy Thanksgiving.
How busy Captain is. And no new updates, by the way,
On the Christmas show incident, we continue to ask the community with any information to pass that along. Thankfully, no one was taken. This young girl is okay, safe at home with her family this morning. But good golly, if that's not scary, I don't know what is. 704-334-1600. Pass that information along to Crime Stoppers. Allow our folks to go ahead and follow up on that. Vague description went out on the individual. No new developments in that regard either. What else? Alex? Really? Nothing? Hey, I know a couple of you on the way in had questions about that suspicious device over in off of Lawyers Road this morning. I believe our bomb squad staff members are still out there investigating. Apparently the device was found just outside of a personal mailbox of a homeowner. No reason to believe at this point, according to some of the detectives that I was speaking with, that they were targeted. There's been no history out at that particular home before. We haven't been able to determine at this point whether or not this is an incendiary device or anything that's just something that looks like one. So as soon as we get some additional information from our bomb squad folks, we'll be sure to pass that along. I know traffic's been somewhat tricky out in that area. Again, we're asking neighbors who live and work in that area to shelter in place. No reason to believe that there's any imminent threat, but out of an abundance of caution, we'd ask them to go ahead and stay put until we figure out what this is.
There was a homicide last night, I'm sorry.
No, I was going to ask the same thing.
And anything you can tell us about that? And the name of the victim came out?
Yeah, 19-year-old guy. I spoke with Chris Dozier, Captain Dozier from Homicide this morning. The preliminary information seems to indicate that this was not random, that the victim and the suspect were known to each other in some way, shape, or form, and exactly to what extent, I'm not able to say just at this point. I will say there were some questions about whether the victim, was a student out at UNCC, not a student out there, from what I'm being told, a student over at CPCC, asking for anyone in the community who has information concerning that to call Crime Stoppers. There's up to a $5,000 reward for any information that leads to the arrest of a person involved in a homicide. $5,000 cash money. We don't want to know who you are, where you are. We just want the information.
But you say you believe it looks like they knew each other.
Yeah, some sort of acquaintance here.
Some idea who the suspect is.
Yeah. The detectives are are fairly certain that preliminary information indicates that this individual, the victim, was not randomly targeted, that there was some kind of relationship there. I'm not comfortable going to the extent of that relationship at this point.
I'm sorry, you said he was a CPCC student?
The CPCC student, not a UNCC student, which there's some questions concerning whether or not he was a student out at UNCC. Not the case. CPCC, from what I was told this morning.
And just slightly in the other direction here, do you have a number on unsolved murders this year, and maybe any leads on any of those that you can update about?
Well, we just hit 80 homicides so far this year. I want to say that compares to 56 this time last year. Our clearance rate is just a tick over 60%. I think it's 60.5% right now. So do the math. I can get you the specific numbers. So 80 homicides, 56 compared to last year, and just a little bit above 60% on the clearance. You know, that community involvement, you know, as hard as our detectives work, and some of you have been around long enough that, you know, you've seen some of the work firsthand and have actually gotten vetted with the homicide group, and you know how much empathy and urgency and professionalism that these guys and girls work these cases. A lot of times it just comes down to somebody in the community seeing something, knowing something, hearing something, and passing that information along. You know, I wish I had the numbers in front of me to quantify just how many times we were able to clear a homicide case this year because of that community involvement. I suspect it's a lot. And a lot of it, you know, there have been cases that have come directly through Crime Stoppers. So that's just, I can't underscore how important that is that we get that community involvement. All right? Everybody good? All right.
Hold on, time out 1 second.
Okay, so Melissa Treadaway, by the way, my partner here in crime with the Public Affairs Office, indicates that the device has been rendered safe. They're going to go ahead and investigate. I'm pushing very hard to try to get a picture of that device that we could push out to you in the not too distant future to show the community exactly what it was that was holding everything up today. And maybe someone in the community knows where this thing came from, and they're able to pass that information along. Don't hold me to that, but that's what we're kind of lobbying for at this point through the Public Affairs Office, and we'll follow up with press release with any additional developments on that. Traffic back up and running again, Melissa? Traffic's back to normal.
I think they're opening the roads right now, it sounds like.
Pretty fantastic. Anything you talk about parade safety, anything people should know about upcoming parade?
Yeah, and if you give me half a second, I've got a couple of tips. We're trying to get somebody here that's actually working it, but Rich, thank you. You available?
He's hiding in the hallway.
Just happen to have somebody available in the hallway.
Is that close?
Lieutenant Sankey, to talk about the Thanksgiving Day Parade.
All right, good morning. All right, did somebody have a specific question? Who was it?
I guess just general parade. What are you guys going to be doing? What you're looking for?
Yeah,
what people need to do?
This Thursday we will be on hand like we always are with the parade. We'll have staffing early in the morning. Our officers will be out there. Actually, they'll be out overnight with the setup of the viewing area. There'll be some grandstands erected up and down Tryon Street, and they'll be setting up their stage and primary viewing area. So we'll be out there overnight, and they'll also be staging some floats on South Tryon. Tryon Street will be closed the Wednesday night beforehand from Moorhead Street up to Stonewall. That'll be for float staging. And then also on Wednesday, Trade Street will be closed from Church to College, basically at the square, and then also Tryon Street will be closed from 4th to 5th, also for setup. And then on the morning of Thanksgiving, around 7 a.m., you'll see several of us out there will be actually doing street closures related to the parade route itself. But we'll have a lot of officers on hand doing a traffic direction. We'll be closing some streets off, obviously, for the parade route. We'll have officers up and down the route for security. We'll have a roving bicycle squad also, so we'll have some sort of more rapid deployment if something were to happen. And we'll also have officers with marked vehicles, and we'll be blocking off streets, basically providing a barrier or a blockade from anybody were to attempt to drive a vehicle into the footprint of the parade route. That's become an ongoing concern and issue of ours, especially in light of recent events here in America and also in Europe.
You also had something, Lieutenant, you were discussing with me earlier about drones. You've had issues with drones.
Yeah, drones have obviously become a more popular pastime. It's a big hit As far as gift giving, my understanding over the past couple of years, more people are getting into that as a hobby. And we've seen with large-scale events, some sporting events, and also gatherings like 4th of July, et cetera, some people like to come out and do aerial photography of the event. FAA regulations prohibit the flying of a drone over a crowd, basically, in just very direct terms. And also the downtown area of Charlotte is within a 5-mile radius of Charlotte Douglas Airport. And FAA regulations generally state that you have to file flight plans and notify the tower out there if you're going to be flying over certain altitudes, and obviously the safety of flying over a crowded and congested area if something were to happen with your drone. We don't want anybody to be hurt. So as much fun as it may be, or it might seem like a good photo opportunity, I would try to persuade people not to bring your drones to the parade.
All right. Everybody get out of their system? Yeah?
Correct spelling of your name?
The last name is Stahnke.
And your first name?
Richard,
Thank you.
and I'm lieutenant over the Special Events Unit.
All right, thank you.
And I want to wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving. Safe one. I know all of you will be off and home with your families, right? That's how the business works, right? Right? Becker?
Yes, sir, I'm old, I get to go home.
Enjoy Thanksgiving, everyone.
Can we get names for the service, the three?
Year.
I don't. One year we tried lasagna for Thanksgiving. It just was a bad idea.
A bad
It was a
idea?
bad idea.